I'm always fascinated. Obviously, you get to interview and play around with people for a living, and I get to do the same thing. And everybody always comes up to me and they're like, "Who are your favorite guests, your worst guests?" I never ask people who their worst guests are because I would never speak negatively
Right,
about
yeah.
other town. But I want to know who some of your favorites are and who some of
Definitely.
your dream guests are.
Well, one of my dream guests that I got to achieve was in the second season of the TV show. I got to have Paul Rubens as Pee Wee Herman on the show, which was just a dream because
I saw your tweet. Now it all makes sense because you were like, "I'm taking the rest of the day off to
yes,
watch
to
the
watch
new
his
Pee Wee
new movie.
movie."
Yeah. Well, the co-writer of that movie, Paul Rust, was one of my writers on the television show. Now he has his own television show called Love on
Yep.
Netflix.
Which Gillian Jacobs you
Right.
mentioned.
Yeah. So he co-wrote that movie with Paul Rubens, and so I had sort of an in, and I had interviewed Paul for the podcast a few years prior, and had a good experience with that. I'm just a huge Pee Wee Herman fan, and the television show is sort of a cross between early Letterman and Pee Wee's Playhouse. So to have him on the show, and he was doing all new bits that Paul and he had written together that he had never done anywhere else. And it was such a thrill for me. And what's interesting is I did watch the movie that day, the new Pee Wee's Big Holiday. And there's one bit in it that is very similar to what he did on my show that I could see like, oh, wow, in the movie he did something that he did on my show a little bit, which was like so cool to like my show debuted that bit in a way. It's just so interesting.
How different is he? I've never interviewed Paul Rubens. How different is he from the Pee Wee character?
He's pretty different. I mean, he's like a pretty just normal, like kind of reserved guy. I will say when we were filming, it was so funny to me that I do a lot of chit chat on the couch because the show takes a long time to film. Usually a person is there 6 hours. So, I, yeah, so I talk to the person a lot, and we're going all the time, but there are little tiny breaks in between scenes. So I was just talking to Paul about things, and he said, have you been to the Walgreens on Hollywood and Vine, which had just opened? And I said, no. Why? What is it like? He was like, it's so interesting. They have sushi, and it's very large. They have a lot. He goes, you know what? I'm just going to make an announcement to the crew. And he like stood up and said, excuse me, everyone. He said, if you get a chance, please go to the Walgreens on Hollywood and Vine. And he like started listing everything that was there. And I was just like, and he was doing it kind of as a bit, I think, because it's a funny thing to make an announcement for. But that was just one of those moments that I was like really laughing about, just like, he's just a funny dude off camera too.